Hi, Sacred Souls. It's Susanna from Witchy Shaman. Today, I want to share with you symptoms of being a physical empath and how the emotions other people direct at you can affect us, and basically how they can manifest in our body, as well as I'm not sure if that works for all of you empaths out there, but in my case, also stuff around me starts going haywire, breaking, and whatever. So that's definitely a clear sign of negative evil energies, beings, the evil force, demons, whatever, anything like that. So, but to get started, so as a physical empath, as I mentioned, it really manifests physically in the body. And if it's a positive feeling or emotion, like being in love or whatever, then it's amazing. It feels wonderful. But when it's negative, it's very negative for you as well. So, one of the things that I've had for years, and only over the past 2 years, once I've had energy treatments done on myself, I realized that it was all connected to energy. So, asthma, I realized, and actually, you can also Google Louise Hay symptoms. She doesn't take it quite as far. She relates it more to how we feel. But I realized that it goes a step further, that it's actually the energy of other people and the emotions and from other people that we absorb. So asthma is like feeling the feeling of suffocation, right? Not being able to breathe. It's usually a clingy, needy energy from someone who is emotionally not in a good place and tries to cling on to you. And that could be because they're going through a really hard time and they want you to rescue them, or just that they're not okay on their own. Let's say maybe they're single and not happy and they want you to fill the void inside them, something like that, right? So yeah, clingy neediness, suffocation, right? And it can often also feel like someone is squeezing your chest, right? It's like, right? So, yeah. Then also a stuffy nose. And I may not be going in order, but I've actually learned this one more recently, is when there's too much right in your face. And a lot of that is sort of like an aggressive energy, like you you know you need to get that done or whatever. So yeah, it's like too much right in your face. um then a big one that I think a lot of people have been experiencing, especially during COVID now, is energy drains. And in my case, that actually started way earlier when I started teaching in 2003. It started slowly, more and more and more. But after 15 years, I I thought it was just teacher burnout, but I didn't realize how it was connected to energies and how I was being drained. Um, some people are like energy vampires, right? And I'm sure even if you've never really dealt with anything like this before, but you know how some people, when you're around them, they're really uplifting and you feel great, whereas other people, they just bring you down. Well, there's also other people where you just feel so exhausted afterwards, right? So, kind of similar to that. It's like your energy is just being sucked right out of you, right? Um, then it can also be what I call life force sucking demons or evil beings, uh, evil spirits, something like that, right? Whatever wording works for you. Um, it's basically just paraphrasing, right? But it's something evil, negative that sucks the life force right out of you, which is similar to energy vampire, right? And then I recently learned from an amazing YouTube channel, Heart Essence, your energy can also be siphoned for dark rituals and things like that, even without your conscious knowing. So they might be sucking your energy right out of you without you even realizing what's happening, except that you feel drained, right? It could be that maybe they get to you in your dreams, like in your sleep time or in the daytime or whatever. Uh, so yeah, it can be tricky, but basically, like you gotta shield yourself, but even that sometimes just doesn't do the trick enough. You can repair holes and tears in your energy fields by like weaving light around you or putting a light shield around you. But a lot of that is so strong. And especially like when you're not in a good, strong place yourself, that's when you're vulnerable to it, right? So it really depends on what's going on. I know, like I was already doing amazingly well, and then I had one weekend where I had a lot going on, and I did two ceremonies helping someone, two different people, and especially like one of them, there was a lot of negative energy, or like I call it like the evil force, evil beings, evil spirits, giving her a really hard time, right? So I believe that somehow some of that attached itself to me. And I know that, first of all, I should have actually cut the activity short because it was getting late and it was way out of town. So I ended up leaving there at midnight, getting home at 2 in the morning, and I had to work the next day. And so I didn't set my boundaries well enough. I just wanted to help her because I knew she really needed help. But also, so boundary setting for yourself is a big one. And the other thing is, I didn't get enough sleep. I was rushing to work. And then, just as the work week went on, I didn't properly take care of myself. And then bad things started to move in more and more. So I'm now coming out of that again. But, you know, it's just, you got to really always be careful and pay attention to yourself as well. And it's not a selfish thing to put your own needs first, because that's your first shield of protection to make sure that you're in a good place yourself. You can't help others when you're struggling yourself, right? So yeah, that was one experience. Then when it comes to anger from other people, I've noticed a few different things. So nausea is very resentful, kind of like poisonous type of hate, like deep, deep, ah, right? Um, and it can be to the point like I think it was 2 years ago, like as I was actually before I started doing ceremonies for myself every night. And before I already knew the energies affected me, and that's why I avoided a lot of people and contacts, because with each person coming into my life, it was kind of getting worse depending on their moods and whatever. Um, but then actually one person from my family was really mad at me, and he just took something the wrong way. And it's like I couldn't fix it, he just basically threw his hate at me, and we love each other, right? So, but anyway, I ended up being so nauseous for 5 days. I was crawled up in bed. So, like, these things can really seriously, severely affect us, right? If we're not careful. And again, this was before I became fully conscious and aware of everything that's going on and how I can protect myself. So I'll get into that a bit more later. Um, so that's one kind of anger, but then there's also an overheated head. So, and I get it more on the left side. I actually have to look into that. But uh, an overheated head, hot-headed, right? Really angry. But that's sort of more that angry rage in the moment when someone explodes and it's just like, ah, right? So that manifests differently from the resentment, right? Um, then I've had a knot in the front, right below my rib cage, like right here, and one right behind on my back, right behind my heart. And in both cases, it was basically kind of like the person wanted to stab me, kind of. Well, in the first case, that was an ex who wished me dead, and it was kind of like, right? That's where you would get stabbed, right? And in the other case, a an ex-boss who had manipulated and tricked me into a work situation I wouldn't have accepted if I had known the truth from the beginning. And anyhow, things then down spiraled, and clearly I couldn't stay there. So um, after that, I had to contact them again for some documentation for something. And that's when, first of all, everything started going wrong in my next workplace. And that knot behind my heart started appearing. And the energy healer gave me treatment and it went away. Like, amazing, right? But that was her kind of backstabbing me, right? It's like, "Argh." And it was actually her own doing. But a lot of times people can't take responsibility for their own actions, right? So they get mad at you, and it doesn't matter if it was your fault or not, right? So that can be very tricky, but sometimes you don't have a choice and you kind of have to stand up for yourself. In this case, it wasn't about standing up, it was something else, but anyway. Um, then third eye bombardment. I'm gonna lift this for a moment because actually, when I do ceremonies, not when I work, right, but when I do ceremonies, or now, like when I'm more like the witchy shaman, when I'm doing something shamanic, I put an amethyst. In the beginning, I used a black onyx to pull all the evil out, but now that I'm doing much, much better, I switched to an amethyst to have more of that connection. But at the same time, it also helps kind of block that those bad energies, right? But in the beginning, it was like, constant bombardment, right? And that's, I realized, are psychic attacks. When someone, and this actually happened last summer, someone verbally told me everything was fine, but I knew it wasn't. And it was insane jealousy for a boyfriend in an uncommitted relationship, or in her uncommitted relationship of many years. Um, so her insane rage and jealousy just went overboard, and she started using black magic and all sorts of things to attack me through the spiritual world and psychically. So that's when I was constantly bombarded, and it's like it feels like, it hurts, and oh. So that can even get so bad that you get brain fog, like you can't think clearly, right? And that, I've noticed, is often, well, in this case, it could be a person doing that, but it could also be an evil spirit or a force, or if that person is possessed by something evil, um, that they're trying to subdue you, force you, break you. I'm saying you, but like I'm speaking about my own experience, sorry. That they try to like subdue me, break my will to fight for the side of light and against the darkness. That was from another situation. And it can get so bad that you almost feel like drunk and dizzy. Like a few times when I walked Let's say if I walked into the bathroom and then suddenly I kind of almost fell sideways and had to hold myself. And I was like, whoa, I didn't drink anything. Like, why am I feeling like this? Right? So that's how bad it can get. And hold on, I gotta find my notes again. Sorry. I added that in the end. Brain fog, brain fog. Oh yeah, here. And that I find is a very, very forceful taking over kind of energy to the point of wanting to destroy you, right? So, right? So I'm laughing now because now I'm doing pretty well. I don't want to jinx it. I I still sometimes have stuff happen, but to a much, much lesser degree. And actually, 20 years ago, I was on the shamanic path already, but I reached a point of when I knew that I was supposed to be a very, very powerful energy healer or shamanic healer or something like that, right? And I didn't feel ready for it. So I actually rejected the gift and I asked the spirit world to just let me live a normal life, normal in quotation marks, trying to bend myself to this society in which I never fit in 100%, I felt, but I made myself fit in, right? So I think that really kind of hurt my soul. And I think many of us, now I know that I'm a star seed, so now it all makes sense. Um, but that's kind of what ends up hurting us more than helping us because we need to be ourselves, right? But to come back to my point, I went through a stage where I felt like my space was constantly being invaded and people were constantly being disrespectful and like kind of started doing bad things towards me or whatever, right? And I had to learn to stand up for myself and put them in their place and reassert my own boundaries and my right to be there as much as they are. And after that stage was done, I reached that connectedness, that oneness to higher wisdom and being connected with the universe. And that was an amazing feeling. It's just I didn't fully feel ready for the task that I was supposed to do. And once declared that I wasn't ready, it that all went away again, right? So now I'm going through the same process again. Um, but basically, I'm sharing this with you because the worst thing for empaths is to actually stand up against any wrongdoing towards us because we know exactly what the consequences are. We're going to get horribly sick from that. But that's exactly what we have to do. So we kind of have to get through that to get to a better place, right? And I'll share with you as well. Last year, starting in January, I went through a lot of bullying, harassment, and discrimination in my workplace. And it was really bad. And I was getting signs from the universe that I was really dealing with demons, not normal human beings. Like they were so purely evil, right? Um, and that's what really set me on my active path again, right? To actually say, okay, I can't procrastinate any longer. Now I have to really live up to my soul mission. But it got to the point where I knew, like, for months actually, they were trying to push me out the door. And each step of the way, I went through the union. Then I finally found the equity team, which the union guy didn't even tell me about. And even there, then I moved back to Toronto. That was in Montreal originally. I was supposed to be accommodated in Toronto and then wasn't. And it was basically about not being able to wear one of those medical masks. So I asked for accommodation for a different one that I meant I was actually able to wear, right? And it was approved and then not. And it was just nuts. So anyway, once I was at a point of I don't care anymore. If I'm going down, if I can't stay here, I'm taking them down with me, right? So that's when like I shifted more into action and that's when I found the equity team, and I felt the anger, but at the same time, I knew it was the right thing to do. And from then on, things started shifting. Not everything was perfect yet, right? Because this is a phase that, like, when you're here and you need to get there, you can't just go in one jump, right? You have to slowly like build it up again, right? Um, but yeah, so basically, no matter, you have to get to the point of like, no, I'm not taking this anymore. And they can't do this. And basically, F them, kind of, right? So yeah, you have to kind of get to that point of almost being angry and full of rage yourself for, you know, for stepping up, like for being able to step up and defend yourself and fight for your rights because they don't have the right to do that. They don't have the right to treat you like that. And if you don't stand up, they will, right? I mean, there are a lot of psychopaths, sociopaths, and whatever who actually get a kick out of, like toying with someone who will play the victim, right? So yeah, so that's basically that. Then I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the different signs of dark, evil energy and beings around us. Aside from physically feeling it, like it can be that you constantly have bad luck, everything keeps going wrong, technology going haywire, breaking down. For example, um, when one boss found out that I wanted to look for another job, um, the the phone charger in my phone basically fried, like the inside of my phone, like right where it charged, fried. Like it was like an electric fire. Like it smelled kind of like an electric burn, right? And I couldn't use the phone anymore, right? So that was the anger and rage of that boss finding out that I wanted to leave the company, right? And basically then my spirit guides let me know, like I was receiving messages and I was guided that in a really ancient lifetime in Thessalonia, I was her slave and she was some important princess. So that suddenly explained a lot to me because she felt she had the right to keep me and I didn't have the right to leave, right? So then I actually ended up doing a ceremony where I used rope, or actually not rope, twine, because it's thinner and easier. So I used twine and basically made makeshift shackles and then burnt them over the fire, cut them open, and burnt the rest. And that actually did it, right? So, and that I had never done before. I had never read anything about it or heard anything about it or saw or seen anything on YouTube or anything. I was just guided to do that. It's like I had this sudden knowing of, oh yeah, I have to like cut those ties and free myself from those shackles, those energy shackles, right? So it's very important that we listen to that, and I'll go a little bit more into that after as well. So that was pretty intense and also very powerful once I did that. Then also like stuff, so I said stuff breaking, but also spilling, being ruined by like fluke accidents. Hold on, I keep holding my thing. Fluke accidents. Let's say something that is very solid suddenly tips over and everything is ruined, or my car window of at the time a relatively new car suddenly wouldn't close anymore, right? And like some guys also tried to help me. Like it just wouldn't go up anymore and it was so jammed, like it had to be replaced. I that was crazy. I ended up sleeping in the car that night because I was afraid it might get stolen if I have a wide open window and I had to park on the street, right? So yeah, that was a little nuts. That was still in Montreal. Then I had a French coffee press break in my sink when I tried to wash it. But the thing is, it didn't it didn't have a crack. It didn't fall over. I barely touched it and suddenly it just broke. So it's like there are things that are going to start happening that don't make any sense, where it's really supernatural, right? And you're like, whoa, this can't be happening, but it is, right? So yeah, it's a bit nuts sometimes. But again, remember this is only a stage until you can like master better dealing with it, getting rid of it. And I've learned one thing: the faster you can get rid of those energies, the better and less damage. And the less you'll feel sick or anything, because the longer it lingers in you or around you, the worse the effects will get. That I've never learned the hard way. Then also, for example, this happened several times in the past, like also years ago, that I passed every stage of the job interviews for a specific job and then didn't get hired. But I had passed even the last step and didn't get hired, right? So clearly there were some blocking energies that didn't want me to get that, right? And yeah, then basically just nothing really working out. Whatever you try, it just doesn't work out, right? So for that, uh, there's a very good chance that that's also a hex or a curse. And Behati Life on YouTube also has an amazing channel. She has a video on how to break a curse, and I'll see if I can link it below, but um, I've been doing this on my phone and had trouble with it, so so I'll see if I can do it on my laptop. I'll get to it. So it's just I feel it's more important to actually get the videos out, and my job is actually so hectic, and I'm out all day that when I get home, I don't want to deal with anything else, right? So my days off are the only time I can do anything else, including laundry and whatever, right? So I'll get to it. It's just sorry if it might take a bit. Okay, so then also, as I mentioned before, first and foremost, start a daily practice, a daily routine. So I do my shamanic ceremonies for myself every night, no matter how late it is. And even if it means that I will be tired the next day, because I've learned if I rush it or don't do it properly, or even if I skip it one night, the next day I don't do so well. So that's very, very important. And whatever you do, if it's meditation, if it's any kind of spiritual practice, or, you know, whatever feels right for you, just make sure you do that, right? But basically, it's important to keep that connection every day and to get rid of all the dark stuff and get filled with love and light, like healing light and unconditional love. So what I usually do is I pull it out. So let all evil, darkness, and low vibrational energies and beings be pulled out of me and cast into the fire, which is my element, for healing. Or sometimes I say, um, for to be cast into the light directly if I know it's something that can definitely be healed. Or but usually it's the fire that actually knows, or like the spirit of fire, I believe, knows if it's something that can go into the light for healing, or that needs to go into the dark place to be locked in there, to be sealed in. Because there are entities that if we banish them away from us, they're still going to float around, and they can do a lot of harm to other people as well, right? So to banish them back, and I still say help for lack of a better or other term, um, but I believe like there's a place where all the darkness should go, and basically, um, I think maybe in the future, like those will be completely separate from those of us who are ascending into 5D. We might not be on the same planets in the future, right? But for now, this is the best that I can think of. If anyone has any other thoughts, opinions, ideas, please let me know. And um, I it might be a better idea. I don't know. But like for example, I had a friend ask me a while ago how I know where they should go, and that's when I realized it's like I don't always know what needs to go where, right? And like for example, I had a shadow attached to me quite a while ago, and I had cast it straight to hell and sealed in, and the problem didn't stop. And then I passed an advertisement sign that said something about shade doesn't burn. And I realized, like, the fires of hell, whatever, right? Um, just, uh, they're not gonna destroy, neutralize, or heal a shadow. And then I suddenly had this very strong knowing the only way to get rid of a shadow is light, right? And that's when I realized shadows have to go into the light. That's the only thing that's gonna basically eliminate them, right? That's gonna neutralize them and make them go away, right? So it's like it's a constant journey, right? So I think until the end of our lives, we're gonna keep learning new things. And I'm just gonna share with you what I've already learned, but there are many things that I'm still gonna learn, right? So that's why I don't want to be one of those people who says, I know everything and I'm gonna teach you everything, because that's not really true. It's like we keep learning. We're very limited in 3D, and there's so much out there that we don't know. So how can we say we're the experts in that, right? I'm on the shamanic path. That's my journey, and I'm sharing it with you. So yeah, anyway, sorry, I'm starting to ramble a bit. Um, so yeah, pull it out of you, and whatever your element is or whatever you feel comfortable with, send it there, right? Send it into the light, send it into the wind or the water if you work with the elements like I do. But again, fire is my element, so that's why I send it there. Anything that makes sense to me, right? And I call in my spirit guides for help. Um, not not always when I'm working and I realize something is going on. I have a little bell with me for a song to like seal in with a bell, and I have twine with me, so if something gets really bad, I can like use knot magic and just repeat what I need done, right? And bind it that way. And other than that, just basically be open to a lot of guidance, because like we get a lot of signs through street signs or whatever. Like for example, I just had something kind of bother me like energetically, and as I was out and about, I saw a car with a license plate that said seal. Yeah, seal it in. Okay, thank you, right? Thanks for giving me the answer of what I need to do. So, yeah, basically, listen to your instincts, to your guidance of your higher self, your spirit guides, the spirit world, um, whatever makes sense to you, right? Anyhow, thank you so much for watching my video. I'm gonna wrap it up now. If you have any other questions, oh, actually, I do want to mention in ceremonies, I always have a candle burning. Actually, I keep it burning anyhow, and when I'm out, I put it in the shower so that there's nothing flammable anywhere, right? And it's been good. So that's another thing, to always have light, right? And then always ask after you pull the evil out to have healing light and unconditional love enter you and surround you, right? To have your protective shield. Um, anyhow, so thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it found it useful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I know I'm very new to YouTube, but I am planning on putting out more videos, and the quality I'm sure will improve bit by bit. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'm sending you lots of love and light, and be safe and all the best. Bye.